All right. Thank you. Well, good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 18, 2021 Urbandale City Council meeting. And ask Nicole to take roll call, please.
Carberry Montgomery. Here. Caduce.
Here.
Obrecht.
Here.
Hoagie.
Here.
Russell.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Urbandale is a national leader in character counts, endeavoring at all times to promote and model the principles of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. In conducting tonight's meeting, we expect that all participants will act in a respectful manner consistent with these principles. Item 2 is approve the agenda. I'll ask for a motion in a second.
Move to approve the agenda.
Motion by Russell,
Second.
second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. Item 3 is citizens forum. There is nobody that's registered ahead of time to speak, but if you are participating on the WebEx, either by phone, if you're participating by phone, if you hit *6 to unmute yourself, or if you're on the web part of it, just unmute yourself and identify yourself and I'll recognize you. This is your time to address the council on something that's not a part of tonight's agenda. Okay, hearing none, we will move on. Item 4, the adoption of minutes. First, the minutes from the May 4 meeting.
Move to approve.
Motion by Obrecht. Second. Second by Pogie. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. Item 4.2 for the May 11 meeting.
Move to approve.
Motion by Obrecht. Second. Second by Pogie. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 5 is the consent agenda. We have 11 items for approval.
Approval of the consent agenda.
Motion by Pogie.
Second.
Second by Caduce. Discussion, please vote.
And Dave, is that Des Moines First? Is that your church?
Yes.
You running in that 5K?
I'll be leading it.
All right, moving on to public hearings. First is item 6.1, public hearing and the consideration of the bids for the Barrett Park Natural Playscape. The public notice for this was published in the April 30, 2021 Des Moines Register. And ask if there are any objections to that notice is published.
There were none.
Ask for a motion and a second to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Pogie,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. All right. Okay, it's open. And to introduce the item is our Parks and Rec Director, Jan Herkey. Jan?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you tonight my voice is loud, but not that loud. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you tonight, we have the bid tab for the Barrett Park Natural Playscape. And just a refresher, for those of you who might be watching, the vicinity right here is Waterford and 156th Street, so the 7-acre parkland right here. This is an aerial view, so everything within this area is where we're going to be planning the park. This is phase 1 of the project, so I just wanted to give you a highlight of the area that we had bids on. Is so the concrete parking lot here, this restroom area, and the highlighted areas here, and I'll be showing you more specifics of what's included with those alternates. So again, the project, the base bid included the natural playscape, including natural elements of logs, stumps, trees, also 17-car parking lot, a restroom and shelter combination, stormwater infrastructure, internal trail, site furnishings, plant material, landscaping, and also we did include conduit, that for the building, for future Wi-Fi to connect when that Wi-Fi becomes available. So that has been added to the project. The alternates were the expansion of the parking lot to 24 stalls, the creek access and loose parts, the fort table, sand play area, and a log climber, log stepper, and I'll again show you more specifics there. So the bids, we have 4 different firms that submitted bids. Ledges Corporation is the low bid. Their base bid was $492,500, and you can see the alternates here as well. So the total for the alternates are $79,164 for a total of $571,664. We wanted to mention that the low base bid in the amount of $492,500 is 1.5% lower, or $7,489 lower than the architect's estimate. We are recommending the approval of the 4 alternates, again, of the additional $79,164. I wanted to mention that the Bozen Foundation, as you've known before, is they've committed $100,000 toward the project. Once we got the bids, I met with Mr. Bozen and another member of their foundation and explained our base bid. I know one of their biggest desires is to get as much in phase 1 as possible and as much play features. And certainly, as you realize in different projects, infrastructure costs a lot, so parking lots and concrete and so forth. So the majority of the base bid is those infrastructure, not as much as the fun play activities. So after looking at those alternates, they have agreed to donate an additional $40,000 toward the project. So essentially half of those alternates contingent upon the city funding the balance of those alternates. And we are recommending then all 4 of those alternates, and the additional costs would be covered by cost savings from other city parks capital projects that came in lower than bid in the past year. Again, wanted to show you the different alternates. So alternate number 2 is the creek access. So that's right off the side here. And just to give you a visual of what that would look like. Again, this is similar to the water trails plan that you might have seen and proposed for Walker Johnson Park, so a similar access so people can get down into the creek. So that would be addressing one of those plans and priorities for the water trails. This is the loose parts play, this bigger circle area, so a number of different amenities where, again, the creativity and the kids this would change daily as the kids move and play with different parts. Again, this is a little more visual ideas of what this could look like. So these are called tree cookies. So you cut the logs and they can pretend different things. We have an Eagle Scout that's very interested in spending his time and doing his project. So he has a desire to help with some of these features as well. So there could be some cost savings there once we work with the contractor. This is the sand play area. So off the side here, it would have the concrete edging or rock edging, and then opportunity for the kids for the play area. This is one of my favorites, is the log pile climber. So this green area has actually 3 different play amenities, and that is the alternate number 4. So the top one would be like this log climber. The one on the end here is more of the log stepper, so different heights and different opportunities for the kids to be the log stepper. And then the middle one would be the rock climbing cave, so the kids can kind of have that cavity to play in, but also jumping on the logs and so forth. So that kind of outlines the project. And again, we certainly realize, just as the all-inclusive playground was a significantly expensive park, as well as the Miracle League, when we have these unique parks with the regional capacity, certainly the cost is increased. And 53% of this cost for this project is for the restroom. That has been a top priority in our master plan, and that you had approved our recommendation to include in this phase. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you, Jan. Any questions for Jan at this time from the
Well,
council?
Jan, I'm just super excited that hopefully we can approve this with the alternates in there. I can't wait to get out there and stomp in the in the creek and play around myself. My only question is, would this be considered like part of the water trails and for like the marketing aspect of it?
I think we had talked about that, and when the water trails presented to you as a council, this may be one that we can either do as an alternate to what was proposed initially at the Walnut Creek Regional Park, depending on that, as well as funding in the CIP, but certainly that would be our intent to promote that and make that a promotional opportunity for the water trails program and project.
Great, thank you.
Jan, recapping then the cost, there's 102,000, it looks like it's coming from other sources. And 468,000 would be the actual expenditure of tax dollars for this project.
Correct. The 468,740 is including the 430 construction funding as well as the 38,740. So that would be the city's overall funding, correct. And that includes the 300 for the playground and restroom.
And you said phase one, will there be more?
Yeah, this is a multi-phased, obviously future projects, future phases would include, we're writing a number of grants and so forth. But we do have an overall master plan that could be 2 years from now or 10 years from now, just like our regional park development certainly takes many years to develop. So there are other future amenities that we could add to this. They aren't design, their preliminary drawings and ideas, but if we get to that stage, then they would require construction drawings. But this is the main first phase, the meat of the project per se, and the others would be adding amenities and a trail connection from the east side of the park. So right now, this is the creek, and we'd be looking to add a trail connection, which, on a side note, the Bozen Foundation and Bob Bozen is extremely interested in that and wants to know how much that would cost, and they are interested in wanting to help with that as well. So yes, there would be future phases, and I actually have the flash drive here if you wanted to see what the future phase, the overall phase looks like.
You have an estimated cost of these future phases that would be added to the 468,000?
It probably potential of doubling in cost. It just depends which amenities that we'd be interested in pursuing. So let me see if I can find this quickly. But future potential ones could be up to $400,000 as well. Again, it just depends of what amenities we wanted to add to that.
Well, I may be suffering from sticker shock here. I don't know about the rest of you. I've run this project by about 7 or 8 different residents in the last couple of weeks, and they certainly were surprised to hear that we may be spending upward of $500,000 for a 6-acre park. And now that I hear that we may spend as much as another $400,000 in additional phases, I cannot support that kind of expenditure.
The additional phases have not been,
I understand that.
well, Dave, can I finish my point, please? Let me finish my point. I said the additional phases have not been approved, nor have the funding sources been identified for that either. So you're not approving any additional phases tonight. The Jan is simply saying that those are options, and they're going to go after grants, and those may be some things, but we haven't approved them, nor has any city funds have been approved for them yet.
Right, but
All we're doing tonight is approving the public hearing for the current one.
which is $468,000.
Yes.
Well, that alone is enough for me to not put my support behind it.
Okay.
And that's okay. And if others out there believe that it's okay to spend $500,000 on a 6-acre neighborhood corner park, then so be it.
Well, we're in public hearing right now, so let's continue the presentation, and let's see if there's any public comment on it first before we make a final vote. Did you have the?
I can show you what this is the overall master plan. See if I can zoom in here.
And quickly, as you look at this compared to the other to the design drawings, it already looks like there's a shift in design a little bit from
Yeah,
this
this
to
is just the initial sketch, but yes, this is the design that they're officially going from. So again, when you get a trail and bridge, bridge is going to be a significant cost. So those would be the ones, the amenities that would be the added cost. Also the drainage area here, we're looking to do a dry creek bed and other play features. An entrance off of 156th and Waterford. So again, right now, as Mr. Mayor has mentioned, is phase one is what we're looking at tonight. And just as we did with the all-inclusive playground and Miracle League, those are our future phases. And certainly we're looking at actually later on in this council agenda of application for Prairie Meadows grant. And we certainly are looking for other funding for potential. But that may never happen. This certainly will be a tremendous new opportunity that we've gotten so much public input, and the area schools, again, there's 5 elementary schools within 3 miles of this that are extremely interested in making this part of their curriculum. So it'll be a wonderful regional park.
I think when we're considering it, we also have to consider the fact that, we're putting in a parking lot, an entrance off of the road to get in here, and a regular restroom. And, the restroom is a decision the council made over a year ago that we wanted more of those. They're expensive. You take those out and we're putting a regular park in.
Yeah, like I said, maybe I'm just
This will be
suffering,
a, what?
maybe I'm just suffering from sticker shock, as I said earlier.
Well, the final bid's less than what we projected, and
Yeah, the next closest bid was $125,000 more, so we're very happy that Ledges came in competitively, and yes, if 300,000 is out of that, now you're talking 168,000, which would be a typical playground if you have an open shelter and playground and basketball court and trail and so forth.
And I think we should note and be very thankful that we have private citizens willing to kick in $140,000 on this price tag. I mean, without that, it would be an expensive project, so.
I had the opportunity to talk to Pat Bodie a little bit about the natural playscape at Jester Park, which she was involved in when she was with the Polk County Conservation Board. And these costs are very much in alignment when you take out the restroom with what they paid about $250,000 for their natural playscape. And I think, no disrespect to the Jester Park one, I think what we're getting here is, the latest and greatest in the natural, playscape, will be an enhancement over what's there. And I think you really have to look at this aside from, the restroom and parking lot component of it, because that is where you said over 50% of the costs are coming from, or was it just the restroom?
Just the restroom is 53%.
I mean, as the lone Dallas County representative on the city council, we do not have a flushable toilet in a park. We do not have an enclosed shelter. We do not have any public facilities in the fastest growing part of our community. And with this, we will have a flushable toilet. So when we're out riding bikes, you can stop at that park and go to the bathroom, and you're playing at the park across the street, or, it's a desperately needed amenity in all of our parks, but definitely, out in the western part of our community, which is growing. We have two elementary schools in the immediate vicinity of this school, and when Urbandale was growing on the other side of the interstate, we were putting in neighborhood parks to accommodate that growing part of the community. Now we're growing way out west, and we need to keep accommodating our residents and their families with neighborhood parks. And I think it's fantastic that we have a foundation that's willing to put such a significant investment to be able to enhance this this park. And I really do think this will become a regional destination. I mean, like I said, my family to this day, and my kids are all teenagers or tweenagers, annually we go up to Jester Park, which is not a quick drive from our house, because we like to stomp around in the puddles and see what other interesting things they have to move around. And I mean, it's really an all ages sort of creative outlet. So I am very, very excited about this, and the cost is what it is for me, especially to get the restrooms.
All right, we are in public hearing on this item. I'd like to see if there's any comment on this, so we'll open it up for public comment at this point. If there's anyone on the meeting that would like to comment on this item, either for or against, please unmute yourself and recognize yourself, and I'll give you time to speak. Is there anyone that'd like to speak on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion in a second to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, motion by Caduce, second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. And there are 3 items for consideration.
I'd be happy to move resolution 150-2021.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Caduce, second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. I'm sorry, it passes. I'm sorry.
I would move resolution 151-2021.
Okay, motion by Caduce,
I second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
And I would move resolution 152-2021.
Okay, motion by Caduce,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. All right, thank you. That passes.
Jan, can I ask one quick question that I forgot to ask? The Prairie Meadows grant later in the menu, in the agenda, is that to go towards this phase or a future phase?
We would request for it to go to this phase.
Okay,
To help offset.
that's what I
part.
thought, but
Yeah. I did also want to share, it wasn't part of this, this budget, but the foundation is also going to donate an additional $10,000 toward public art and signage toward the project. So since it didn't affect the alternates, I wanted to hold off on that, but a total of $150,000 from the foundation for this project. So it's exciting.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Jan.
Jan, I'd just say if you wouldn't mind passing along the appreciation of the council and on behalf to the Posen Foundation. That's a pretty rare gift and certainly appreciated by everybody. And I know it'll go to their legacy for a long time at Urbandale.
Yep. And we certainly will be putting up something, if you recall, it's Bob Bosen's son, Barrett, who this park is named after if he passed away. So we'll be having an acknowledgement in who Barrett was and so forth at the park. So we sure will.
Great, thank you, Jan. And again, thanks, Adam, for those comments. It is a good public-private partnership, and I think it's going to be a very good addition to our overall city system. So thank you for the support on that. All right, moving to item 6.2 is a public hearing on the fiscal year 2021 budget amendment number 1. The public notice for this was published in the May 14, 2021 Des Moines Register, and ask for any objections to that notice is published.
There were none.
Ask for a motion and a second to open that public hearing.
Move to open the public hearing.
Motion by Obrecht,
second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. And to introduce us is our Finance Director, Nikki Lamb. Nikki?
Mayor and members of the council, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. I have just a short, we're going to walk through the budget amendment. This is our first and only budget amendment for fiscal year 21. And as expected and kind of been talking about all through the fiscal year, COVID kind of changed a lot of things for us for timing. And so this is kind of some cleanup to move things around, the things that didn't quite get to happen this year. So there's quite a bit of transfer activity in this one. So I'm just going to talk through the areas for those of you that are new to the amendment process. Legally, we're restricted to expenditures by function. And so the document that's attached, the notice of public hearing, has public safety, public works, health and social services, et cetera. Those are the areas that legally we have to stay within to meet our state requirements. So in order to exceed those numbers, we have to go through this amendment process with 30 days prior to the end of the fiscal year to allow for appeals. So the area of public safety, we have a total of $754,800. The majority of that is related to the fire overtime incurred during the COVID pandemic, mostly actually to cover the coverage related to having staff out. There was police overtime, and then the GEMT, which is the ambulance fees that are reimbursed for Medicare that was new last spring after we set the budget. Those are actually being reclassified. At the time we set them, we assumed that those would be coming in under charges for services, and they actually need to be in the intergovernmental category. So that isn't actually, it looks like a decrease, but it's just flipping categories. And then we have some minor items related to the police and fire donations accounts for $19,800. And those are all offsetting revenues, cover 100% of those costs. And then we got the CARES Act funding that offset all of the overtime costs related to that item. So that one's fully covered. In Public Works, they had some minor items related to COVID supplies being purchased during the year, and then the Metro Salt Storage Facility had some maintenance costs that we didn't account for this year. Health and Human Services, that one looks like it's going down. This is, again, one of those transfer items. So the MAC camp was one of the allocation items for the budgeted year. And, of course, we didn't get to have any MAC camps last summer. So we're transferring those, actually moving it down to a transfer line instead of an expenditure so we can move it to the MAC fund to account for this summer's activity, which won't all be expended before the end of the fiscal year. That's true as well for the ISU extension programs. Those have not been able to be completed yet. And then the UCAN and food pantry lease assistance that was identified in that budget, all of those are just being moved down to be a transfer so we can move them out and still hold on to the funds for those uses. Economic development or community economic development function, very minor, $1,000 for COVID expenses. Same for the general government function, had $3,000. And then debt service had an increase of $125,000. That just is our true up based on when the actual bond is sold, and we true up to the actual cost as it settles. This would be the bond that we sold last fiscal year in April of 20. And then the biggest piece of this budget actually is in the business type. The water utility is part of our budget document, and this is the first time in several years that they've actually needed to have an amendment. Their expenditures needed to be increased by $861,340. Those are related to their purchase cost for water from Des Moines Waterworks and the delay in a capital project timing for the Douglas Water Main project. And so those were funds that should have been allocated in for last year, and it ended up happening this year. So those were timing on capitals. So all of those items that I just talked through, there are several transfer in and outs, and then we also had the stormwater utility that you all approved last month to allocate $500,000 for the Douglas urbanization project to cover the stormwater costs on that. So there's the additional $500,000. So a total of $729,000 in transfers. So all of those together, $2.582 million in expenditures, being offset by $1.5 million in revenues. The big piece of that is coming from the Miracle League fund balance because of the timing of when that was constructed. All those donations have been fully received. We just didn't get it all done before spring last June 30. We thought it might get done, but it didn't. So those happened in this fiscal year. So all of these items are just cleanup to try to make sure that we're adhering to our state requirements in amendment by function. And then the second item that is on here tonight, based on those reclassifications of transfers, we have to set a new transfer resolution that specifically identify what we're doing with the transfers, which funds they go in and out of, and why. So there's two items tonight for consideration, the amendment itself and then the transfer resolution associated with it. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thanks, Nikki. Any questions from the council for Nikki on this item?
Yeah, Nick, I guess on the transfer piece, the real estate for UCAN Food Pantry wasn't on that list. Does that fall differently, I guess, than the transfers that are on this list?
The transfers are on that list. It's in with the Health and Human Services function. The
It's not on the
detail
actual
on that.
resolution itself. So that's what I guess I was looking at,
It's in the 117,000.
which is not on
We just
resolution
didn't call it.
149-2021.
It should be. We will follow up on that. And if it is not, we will bring forward another transfer resolution because that piece should have been in the total 117.
Because there's 729,000 in that resolution.
Yes, and that's the total. Sorry, I don't have that piece of it pulled up here. Switch to the.
Or is that part of the, I guess, 82 capital improvement for community
Oh,
service
yeah.
projects? Okay.
Yep, it's at 82. So there's the
Sorry.
75.
I was looking
and
for a
the
75 number, so that's why I was confused.
Yep, nope, there's two pieces in that. The ISU extension programs, I'm not sure if those will end up being through that or how we were going to work those out. So we lumped those all together. So it's the total move from community services. And then the MAC camp, because it's going to a different fund, is called out separately. So I think that's why it looks confusing. There's two pieces to community services, but there's actually 3 items encompassed.
Sorry to give AJ a heart attack there.
I was going to say, well, maybe the wrong version got uploaded because it was in the total. No, we're good. We're good. It's in that 82.
So the important question is, both accountants agree we're okay?
Yes.
Okay.
That is always an important factor, right?
All right, we're in public hearing on this item. Would anyone from the public like to address the council on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery,
Second.
second by Pogge. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. Then we have 2 resolutions for approval.
Move resolution 130-2021.
Motion by Obrecht,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
Then move resolution 149-2021.
Motion by Obrecht,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. And that passes. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 6.3 is the public hearing to consider the Roble property Outlot X and Outlot Y amendment to the planned unit development master plan at 142nd Street and Waterford Road. And the public notice for this was published in the May 7, 2021 Des Moines Register. And is there any objections to that notice as published?
There were none.
Ask for a motion and a second to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Pogge, second by Caduce. Discussion, please vote.
Sorry.
All right, that passes. Excuse me. And to open this item is our Community Development Director, Steve Franklin. Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. Let's see if we can share a drawing here to show you what this looks like. Okay, so this is a request for a portion of the Roble property. This is the easternmost, I should tell you, this is 142nd Street. This is Waterford Road. So you might recall this is a large 160-acre property, a mile long, went from 142nd all the way over to the west to 156th. Development has been starting at that west end, which is where the Barrett Park is located that we just discussed, and it's kind of moving this direction with lots. There was one previous amendment to allow some smaller 50-foot lots up on Waterford Road, and those are currently under construction. So as this has been moving to the east, These two parcels have been purchased, known as Parcel B and Parcel D in the original PUD nomenclature that was used. And essentially what the request is here is to take a portion of Parcel B, which is known as Outlot X, and change some of the townhomes that were anticipated in this area to some more 50-foot wide single-family detached lots. And in so doing, the way that that lays out, this Parcel D here, which is known as Outlot Y, gets a little bit smaller from the original 15 acres down to a smaller 13-acre size. So should you approve this amendment, the first planning and zoning item that I'll show you tonight is the preliminary plat for this area to show you exactly what's going on. But essentially, the corner parcel for some future multifamily gets a little bit smaller, and some of the anticipated townhomes down along through this area would become 50-foot wide single-family lots. Be happy to answer questions.
All right, thank you, Steve. Any questions for Steve?
So Steve, would you say that the market in this area is more for single family than townhouse or apartment then?
That kind of seems to be the way it's going. Immediately across the street to the north in this area, there was a PUD when originally approved was for multifamily, came back and changed that to multifamily or townhomes. And it does look like we're going to have a plat coming through for townhomes in that area. We'll see what happens with Parcel D. The owner has indicated, I believe it was in the P&Z minutes, that he's not planning on doing anything there for probably 2 or 3 years. So we'll kind of see how this shakes out. But it does seem that we're leaning toward, and I think the comp plan exercise is going to verify all this for us, that we're leaning towards some narrower and therefore more affordable lots. And the townhome market seems to really come back strong. For a while there, we weren't doing them, and now everybody wants them again.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions? All right, we're in public hearing on this item. Would anyone from the public like to address the council on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Carver and Montgomery, second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. Okay, and that passes. We have one item for consideration.
Move approval of Council Letter 6726.
Motion by Obrecht,
Second.
second by Caduce. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right. Moving on to item 7, we have one public hearing to establish. It's item 7.1 for the indoor pool demolition. Jan, answer any questions if there are.
Move to approve Resolution 147-2021.
Motion by Obrecht,
Second.
second by Pogge. Discussion, please vote. All right, item 8, planning and zoning items. Steve, you're back up to bat. Item 8.1, the Barrett Estates Plat 3 preliminary plat at 142nd Street and Waterford Road.
Okay, so this is the proposed preliminary plat for the PUD amendment that we just discussed. So this is the area here, south of the east-west street, where there would be 25 single-family detached lots that would be constructed that would have that minimum width of 50 feet. And then there are a total of, how many was it? 127 townhome units that are the total of 127 in this area, going to be done in 2 phases. And so the first final plat that we'll see come through would include the first 57 of these townhome units, and then it would be all 25 of these single-family lots. And then a second phase, all of the remaining townhomes would be done in a second phase. And then, as I mentioned, we'll just see what happens with Outlot Y and Outlot Z. Outlot Y today would be additional townhomes. It would not surprise me. We'll see what the market says if we come back with some more 50 or 60-foot lots here, and then we'll just see what happens with Outlaw Z in the future. But, so 25 additional single-family 50-foot lots, and a total of all of those townhomes with the first phase just being the first 57. Be happy to answer questions.
All right, thank you, Steve. Questions?
It's obviously seems like a lot of units in my mind, but how fast are they expecting? I mean, is this a 2-3 year phasing they're thinking, or what?
Anybody on the line that wants to answer that question?
Didn't know if you had discussions on that or not.
They've been going pretty quick, I know, in the other plats that we've had, so, you know, the lumber costs and things don't seem to be having much of a factor right now, but I don't know if there's anybody on that would want to answer that directly or not.
More of a curiosity.
With it being 127 units total, I mean, that's doable in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Steve, can you blow that up at all, like where your
Yeah.
hand is?
Yep. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, but now move it there, okay. So I always worry a little bit about parking, the guest parking. And with these houses right across, is there gonna be enough guest parking for the townhouses? Now, it looks like the driveways are gonna be away from the houses.
Correct, yep. So we always require a setback such that you can get your 2 cars in the driveway, so that's there. And then we have been requiring additional parking spaces based on the overall number. So you can see they've got a few parking spaces right here for guests, and then there's another area that's some parking spaces right here. So far in these developments, we have not found that to be a problem. If we've got the 2 cars that can park in the driveway and the percentage of the extra spaces, it seems to be working okay.
I don't know if it's just the scale of this, but it just, I think it just looks like a lot of units there. And I don't think it really is, but.
It's a little bit deceiving just because it does still meet the overall maximum of 8 units per acre, which is what we've been doing for townhomes lately. So it is right in there with what some of the other plats have been. The end units are a little bit bigger. I think those lots are, did I put that in there? Yes, about 1,700 square feet on the end units, and then the interior units are about 1,344. So they're bigger than some of the townhomes we've seen lately. And then they're kind of in a mix. There's 3-plexes and 8-plexes. The 8-plexes like these, I think it just makes it look like it's a little bit more just because you do have 8 units, and that's the maximum number they could have in one building. So it's compliant with what we've been doing. I just think the fact that there's 127 of them in there, it makes it look like, there's quite a few.
Man, it's a product that we're lacking a little bit right now, so I mean,
Yeah.
I'm glad to see some more townhomes
Yeah,
going in.
the market is definitely screaming for townhomes again.
It provides a nice mix. It gives a lot of different options.
Right, and that's what I do like about it. You've got these larger lots here, more traditional lots here. Just to the west of this is where those other 50-footers were, and now we've got these 50-footers, some 70-footers down here, and then you've got the townhome. So I agree, I like the mix of the product. They're all in close proximity. Yep.
I've heard from more than one person that over the years that they couldn't find an appropriate townhome in Urbandale and they had to move out, so.
Right, and we've got, with everybody that's doing them, there's a pretty good mix of sizes and styles out there too.
Yeah.
So.
Steve, I don't know whether it was on this project or another one, is there something about sprinkling because it's a certain size?
Correct, that's part of what.
Be required to have?
They will not. I think they are just shy of, we'll look at that when the building permits come in to make sure, but that's part of where the 8-unit mix comes in here, because there is an overall size where if you get above that, you do need to sprinkle that building.
Was
out.
that 14,000?
I can't
6,000?
remember what the number is. I think it's more than that. I don't recall. But
Okay.
That's something certainly that we do as part of the building permit review process.
The Chief's on, Chief Holt's on, maybe Chief Holt can answer that offhand. If you want to get an answer, let's ask Chief.
I just remember reading something about a
Yeah, go ahead.
fire sprinkler requirement.
Chief?
I do not know what that number is off the top of my head either.
I think I'm pretty sure it's more than 8 units and then there's a total square footage, but I don't remember what that number is.
Okay.
I think maybe we read it in the P and Z minutes. I think P and Z had asked maybe that same question.
Yeah, I think that
And I feel like they
that
said it was
sounds
8
familiar.
units, so we were smaller than, or right at the max.
Right.
All right, any further questions or discussion? If not, ask for a motion in a second.
I'll move approval of, what do I do? I guess, sorry.
Council letter.
Council Letter 6727.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery,
Yes, sorry.
second by Kudus. Discussion, please vote.
Had a blank there.
But that happens
Some of them are different. It's the resolution. I was,
for the resolution.
All right, that passes.
thanks, Adam.
Item 8.2 is the Des Moines Christian School Addition Site Plan at 13007 Douglas Parkway.
Okay, so St. Pius was just in here with an expansion, so now Des Moines Christian, now it's their turn to come in, because it seems like they're both growing and keep having phase after phase. But, so this is for Des Moines Christian on Douglas. I chose this drawing just because the scale's a little bit smaller and gives you a little bit more of where we're talking about. So there's the outline of the track that goes around the football field. So Douglas is gonna be down here at the bottom. This is the baseball field, and so this darkest rectangle that you see here on the south side of the building at the west end, that is the actual addition. 2 stories tall, 13,540 square feet. It will include additional classrooms and administrative space. Architecturally, I'll show you that. It's going to be predominantly brick. This is what you will see from Douglas in 2 pieces. This is half of it, and this is the other half of it. So it's going to look just like the rest of the building. The architect was on, you probably saw that in the P&Z minutes, and confirmed that it's going to look exactly like the other building. With the modifications that they're making at the entrance and all of this reworking of this concrete area, they are losing a handful of spaces, parking spaces. They'll go from 621 to 609. However, the school is very comfortable that that still gives them enough spaces. It does meet the requirements of the zoning code for classroom seats to have enough spaces. And you may recall, previously the school had signed off with a letter to the city assuring that the 3 venues wouldn't all have things with the stadium and the gym and the performance all happening at the same time, and they were happy to re-up that agreement. So we're comfortable, they're comfortable that this is still gonna work and meet the new needs that they have. So be happy to answer questions. Planning and Zoning Commission does recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Steve. Any questions?
Yeah, I guess that it's actually that last piece of if the parking requirement meets our code, why are we putting additional requirement on them not to have multiple events at one time?
Just because we wanted to make sure, well, okay, so when all of those venues were meeting at the same time, based on their seating capacity, then it could be a problem. Based on classroom seats, which is the main thing we're gonna look at, they were fine. And so they acknowledged when they did a previous thing, the previous amendment, that if they were having a football game and the Performing Arts Center was happening and all of those things together, that would be a problem, and they agreed not to do that. Sorry, I didn't probably explain that as well as I should have.
And it's specifically varsity level events out there. So they could be having play practice while a football game's going on and practice in the gym.
You
Okay.
just don't want a formal performance and a varsity game, all of those things happening. But that meets into their operational plan fine, and they were agreeable to that.
I saw one of the P&Z members was concerned about baseballs hitting this addition, and I wondered, does he have a child who's really, really good, or?
That was an interesting
just
question.
hoping.
I don't know, yeah. It's, we'll find out if the rating on that glass was legitimate or not.
Yeah, about the first game, I think.
But you can see the outline of the outfield right here, so if it gets far enough, yeah.
What's their time frame on this?
I assume right away, but I don't know if anybody with Bishop is on that knows the answer to that question.
Yeah, this is James Rodemeyer with Bishop Engineering, 3501 and 104th Street in Urbandale. I think construction was starting in July, potentially August, so this summer.
All right, thank you.
If there's no more questions, I'm happy to make a motion. I'll move Council Letter 6728.
Motion by Kudus, second by Russell. Discussion, please vote.
Looks like a great project.
Yeah.
Expansion.
Very nice.
$26 million raised.
That's it?
$26 million raised.
All right, that item passes. Item 8.3 is the Urbandale Storage Unit Site Plan at 3301 111th Street.
Not all for this, but total project.
There we go. Okay, so this is an interesting project. This is on 111th Street, east side of 111th Street. This is the Johnstone Supply, which is just south of Justin. Bob Brown Chevrolet is on the other side of 111th over here to the west. So what is proposed is a total of 3 different buildings, which are these darkest rectangles that you're seeing there, for a total of just over 40,000 square feet. You would enter off of 111th Street, and there would be a one-way circulation to be able to come through and around and back out. They will have a gated entrance. There is 1 parking space in front of each unit. These would be divided up kind of condo style, so that each of these rectangles that you see here would be 1,500 square feet, which is 60 by 25. Each unit would have a pedestrian door and an overhead door. And then each unit has a parallel parking space in front of the unit. So you might have seen from the P&Z minutes that I think there's 14 commitments, I think, so far on these 27 units. It sounded like the majority of people would want to store their boat or would want to store their vehicle, so it would be perfect for that. However, it is in the M1 district, which does allow office uses too. So there would be the ability with sewer and HVAC systems that if you wanted to set up a little office situation here, you could also do that as well. So it's really kind of a product that we don't really have in Urbandale. So from that aspect, I think it's kind of neat. It's kind of above and beyond what your typical mini storage would have if you needed a bigger vehicle to be able to store it. But then again, based on the zoning classification and the way that they've run this with the sewer, they do have the ability for those individual tenants that want to be able to have a restroom in there and or any kind of a little office situation for their personal business, they could certainly do that. So Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval. Be happy to answer questions.
But overnight stays are not allowed, though.
Overnight stays will not be allowed. Correct.
There's similar to this up in Johnston, they call them the toy boxes, so there may be a few apartments in some of those.
And Steve, just a general discussion of storage units. If you recall, several years ago, there was kind of a discussion about, Urbandale, are we getting too many? Not that this project looks great, and it's a little bit different than
different,
minis,
right.
I agree.
Yep.
So part one is, have you reevaluated the storage locations in Urbandale? And number two, we were pretty specific about what they're going to look like with respect to brick.
Right.
And I think a couple of, we made sure that any sides that are visible to the public, or if there's any residents nearby.
Yep.
We were pretty.
We have been on those mini storage units, and most of those are on arterials, so we're a little bit more concerned about, what that looks like. This is on 111th, way off of Douglas, can't see it from there. This is also a little bit different, and then this is just kind of a straight up M1 zoning district, which is our light industrial district, you might call it. This area is reviewed under there's a set of covenants for the Walnut Ridge Business Park that they still review the architecture for every building that's in this area. But again, because this is a straight up M1 zoning, they're gonna have the 4 foot of stone at the bottom, and it'll be just kind of a traditional middle type of building. So based on where it is and how it, how it's zoned, it's appropriate here. Most of those mini warehouse, well, all of the other mini warehouses have been a PUD. Again, usually along more arterial streets, so we do want to have that brick at least that you can see from the street. In terms of how many of those we have, the Dino's storage that was approved, northwest corner of Northwest Urbandale Drive and Meredith, kind of in the middle of that area there on that quadrant, as near as we can determine, that project is not going to happen. That was going to be an indoor situation, would be predominantly brick, look kind of like an office building. It does not appear that that's going to happen, and lately we have not had any inquiries for any additional storage other than the indoor storage, which was going to go in the former Kmart building. And again, that's all inside as well. So it seems like, based on meetings that we've not had and what we're hearing, that that market may have stabilized at this point in Urbandale, because we have not had any recent inquiries about building more.
Yeah, I just remember the discussions before, and you expressed some concern that perhaps were we getting over.
Right, that was
abundance.
that was a question. So, but I think the fact that Dino's project probably isn't gonna happen, and we're not hearing any more here now, then maybe it's kind of stabilized for the moment.
Was that the multi-story one?
Yes.
I think I was on the P&Z.
I think you were, actually. Yeah, it was a 3-acre piece. It was right in the middle of that
Yeah.
quadrant of that intersection. Yeah, and it was 3 stories, I think, and it was predominantly brick.
Is anything moving forward on that corner right now?
No, we've had a couple of inquiries, but nothing, I'm kind of surprised. Now, I will say, my gut feeling is, now that we've got the car wash that's about to open on the south side, that may spur some things to happen. We'll see, yeah. But had some kicking of the tires a little bit, but nothing definitive.
All right, is there a motion and a second on this item?
I would move the item, Council Order 6729.
Motion by Russell,
Second.
second by Poggi. Discussion, please vote.
Steve, before you leave, Bob needs the phone number for him.
I'll talk to you later about that. Thanks. All right, that item passes. Item 8.4 is the Acadia Phase 3 preliminary plat at 164th Street and Meredith Drive.
Okay. Try to share it here. Sometimes if I do it too quick, it doesn't like it. Okay. So last P and Z item, I turned this so that north would be up, but all of the text is reading the other way, but I think you can still follow this okay. So this is Plat 3 of Acadia. This is the other end of the spectrum with our lot sizes, because clearly in Urbandale, there still has been and seems to continue to be some inventory of your typical 80 to 100 foot wide lots. And so this is just a kind of a continuation of that type of product in this development. So here's Meredith Drive. Here at the bottom of the page, you would access this with an extension of 164th Street, which would come in off of Meredith. And then this is Phase 2, which is currently under development. Centennial Boulevard would come back through. And so this is basically all of Plat 3 right there. And then everything up in the corner, northwest corner, this would be a future Plat 4 up in this area. Total of 47 lots in Plat 3 and 63 lots in Plat 4 for an additional 110 lots. As I mentioned, they're generally 80 to 100 feet wide and fills the market demand for that particular type of lot. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval. Be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions?
Can you go over with your hand again where Phase 3 is on?
So here is the edge of Plat 2, which runs all the way down through this. So Plat 3 is going to be all of this. It comes up and includes this little cul-de-sac.
Okay.
So it includes that cul-de-sac, and then it's this heavier line, and it drops back down here like this. So it's basically
Then the
all of
lower left corner there, that's the stuff that's going up now.
Correct. That's the stuff that's going up now, which
And that's
is,
not part of Acadia, is it?
it's not, it was all part of the same property, and it was all rezoned at the same time, but that's what's being developed as Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Urban Ridge, is what we're calling that, and those are some more of the narrower lots.
Those are going up quick.
Yeah. Yeah. When they're a little smaller, they go up a little
Yeah.
quicker. Yep.
All right, any further questions? No?
I'll move approval of Council Letter 6736.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery,
Second.
second by Poggi. Discussion, please vote.
You want me to stop? Oh, you got it. Okay.
That pass? That item passes, I see. All right, thank you. Item 9.1 is consider the grant applications for the Prairie Meadows Community Betterment Grant. Thank you, Steve. Jan?
Yes, before you tonight is a request for submitting grants. In 2020, the Fire Department and Parks and Rec Department submitted grants, and due to COVID, they suspended funding. So this is resubmission of grants. Last year, we had planned to, again, submit a grant for $20,000 toward a van for the senior center. And this year, we're adding a $75,000 request for Barrett Park as well to help fund Phase 1. And the fire department is would like to request funds for fitness equipment at the fire station. To be happy to answer any questions. The deadline is if approved tonight, the deadline is next Friday, so we submit these, and we should know by June if we receive any funding.
Great. Any questions?
Move approval of Council Letter 6731.
Motion by Obrecht,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 9.2 is consider the Iowa Economic Development Authority's High Quality Jobs Program application endorsement for the Premier Tech Prairie, Inc. And introducing this is our Assistant Economic Development Director, Aaron DeYoung. Aaron?
Great, thank you, Mayor and Council. Is it up there on the?
Do you think Steve intentionally deleted it for him?
What?
Do you think Steve intentionally deleted it for him this time? Let the new kid figure it out. See, I told you.
It's good to see you in person, Aaron.
Yes, it's good to be seen in person. The joke on all the online, it's good to see you in 3D nowadays.
I did run into you at the library that time.
Yes.
I won't say what you were doing there with the lost video.
Yeah, the kids didn't put the CD back in the case, and Dad had to move it back. So, thank you, Mayor and Council. Aaron DeYoung with the Economic Development Department. Happy to present to you the Premier Tech expansion to go to the IEDA for their consideration for financial assistance through their High Quality Jobs program. Premier Tech, you may not know who they are. They are a Canadian company here. They're currently in Johnston. They're based out of Rivière-du-Loup, Quebec. So sorry, Sophie, if I said that wrong. There with the company. They are a multinational company that focuses in three main industries: agriculture, automation, as well as water solutions. So think of cleaning water solutions for third world populations as well as industrial processes. This would be based, so this would be expanding the seed industry part of their businesses. So the big bags that Pioneer has with the sewing on top, this company does all of the infrastructure to make those happen in there. So they do the engineering and sales and back office stuff here in Johnston and are looking to come to Urbandale. Is formerly Prairie Engineering. Staff, we've been working with the company since November, so it's been a while to figure this out. So it's starting to brew and going to IDA here on Friday. What they are planning to do is to build a 20 to 25,000 square foot building along Plum Drive. That's the location that they'd like to do. This is the first step, so this is part of the incentives part. You will see this in multiple phases as they don't have approval to build the building yet, so it'll go through the planning process as well as a development agreement for the local incentives here later on. They are looking to plan construction to start in this summer, and it's about an $8 million project when all is said and done. Again, they are seeking state assistance from the Iowa Economic Development Authority through their High Quality Jobs program. This would include an investment tax credit on the investment as well as a sales tax refund on all the sticks and bricks that are going to go into the building. The project, the state's not doing this or considering this because they like the companies, because there will be new jobs coming to the state of Iowa. 41 jobs in total, with 16 of those being newly created for the state of Iowa. On the city's side, they're eligible for the city's 5-year sliding scale TIF rebate, as well as to match some of the financial assistance from the state, eligible for the city's 5-year zero interest loan program through the revolving loan program. That is a required match for the state assistance. And like I said earlier, a development agreement will be coming to you soon. We need to incorporate if they get state assistance into that agreement, so that's why you're gonna see that later. So with that ends my very brief presentation. We are recommending to approve the resolution that's in your packet for Premier Tech's expansion.
All right, great. Thank you, Aaron. Any questions for Aaron?
Are they relocating from Johnson, or are they building a second building?
They will be relocating.
And we're all cool with that?
We have been in constant communication with our counterparts in Johnston, and we did receive a letter from them saying that we know this is happening, and we endorse them being able to move because it'll be new jobs for the state of Iowa. So, yeah, we've gone through that process.
Complied with fair play and.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions?
I'll move council letter 6721.
Motion by Caduce,
Second.
second by Russell. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that item passes. And congratulations, and good, get another business here, so thanks, Aaron.
Oh, Aaron, before you leave, so we're not going to hear anything at the May 21st meeting on the mall?
Yeah, other topics. Yes, the state is going to look at the Iowa Reinvestment Act, which is what we applied for the Merle Hay campus and Buccaneer Arena. They're going to look at those in June. So yes, we were hoping for a May decision, but it's going to take a little longer for them to suss everything out. So June is the magic date. Hopefully that we get a happy announcement from the state. So.
Great.
Thank you.
Item 9.3 is to consider the engineering design services agreement for the Hickman Road Viaduct Trail construction, and John is online here. I want to answer any questions if there are. John, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I don't have anything to add right now.
Not?
I'd move approval of council letter 6734.
Okay, motion by Poggi. Second by Caduce. Discussion, please vote. All right, that item passes. Item 10, mayor and council items. Ron?
The only thing I was going to say is, I think we need to thank our staff and the citizens between the work they're doing on donations and the grants they're trying to get to hold taxpayer money down. I think it speaks well for the city, and thank you for all of your efforts.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ron. Bridget?
I have been doing some, I guess, lobbying for DART, trying to get some money, not some money, but just get the authorization from the state to be able to do a hotel motel levy for transit. And as of right now, I don't think that looks very good. I don't think it happened. But I was in communications with Carter Nordman, who represents Dallas County, Urbandale, and Eddie Andrews, and they seem very supportive of the concept, but I just don't think leadership was behind this opportunity to lower taxes. So they found other ways. So I'd be interested to hear when we're done if AJ has anything updated from the legislature. Doesn't look like you do by the look on your face. So, yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Thanks, Bridget. Adam?
Just seem to be interfacing with Park and Rec a lot more lately with a disc golf tournament this weekend. Hopefully it dries out enough to be able to do it. And Mother's Day gifts, thanks for bailing me out, so. It was a very nice potted plant, showed up on my doorstep through the Park and Rec program, so.
All right. David?
Sunday, there was a food trucks for a fundraiser for the Urbandale Food Pantry. I missed you by just a few minutes. My wife got there first and saw you that you were there.
Yeah.
And it was great. Not only the turnout, because 100% of the proceeds from the food trucks went to the food pantry.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what.
It was like $3,000
Yeah,
for 2
okay.
hours of eating. I enjoyed it.
Great food. What I really enjoyed too is I was able to meet some of the board members and I was able to meet some of the volunteers. I met a couple that had been volunteering for 14 years. And the passion and the dedication that they, you could just see it. And we're very fortunate to have volunteers, not only in our food pantry, but in all areas in Urbandale. And, we're very fortunate to have great volunteers. But it was good food, and certainly for a good cause, so.
Did anybody
they do
get the
that again.
Mexican food last night from
I
UCAN?
missed the cutoff to order for it. I tried to, and I missed the cutoff.
That was pretty good. I had a lot of food supporting Urbandale over the last 48 hours.
Adam.
Now we need the UCAN gym membership program.
Yeah.
All the food printers. No. Thank you to the Economic Development Marketing staff for the Urban Loop mug. I'll display it proudly. That's a great piece of marketing and certainly something that's going to get a splash. And then I did just have a couple constituents reach out about, they like the Douglas urbanization project, but they're a little concerned about the intersection where you access the soccer fields and Walker Johnson. And then on the other side, is it Mary Lynn that's on the other side? They said weekend traffic, that gets a little bit congested with people trying to turn in different directions. And so I don't know what the solution is, but they had some concerns about some of the congestion. So, thanks, AJ. That's all I got.
All right. Thanks, Adam. Just wanted to recognize it's EMS week this week. I think just want to mention that. So thanks to our EMS folks that keep us safe. We've been recognizing a lot of our first providers, and just wanted to give a shout out to our EMS providers this week. So thanks for everything you do for our community. And I don't have anything further, so I'll ask for a motion and a second to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
I think this is the first adjournment Ron hasn't been on.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.